heal his body. He healed him as a whole. Now, when people preach about the leper's healing, some preachers are very famous for preaching only about the leper's healing, because they believe they are the healing ministers. So they must take only the healing stories and preach it. It's a good thing because it helps people to identify when I need a healing, so I will go to Benny Hinn, or some people who are just preaching from the healing stories. And then I will hear, okay, I will feel like that blind man, I will feel like that leper, I will feel like that woman who couldn't stop her bleeding, and I will feel like that lame, paralyzed person. I may have a different disease, but I will place my hand over that place, and I believe, and I believe, and I believe, and I pray, and I will receive that healing. Some people, it clicks, they get healed. Some people, it doesn't click. God doesn't want to heal, they don't get healed. We are not here to criticize this kind of a ministry or the vastness of the scope of this ministry. We are talking about how people specialize in certain areas, and there are certain other pastors and preachers. If you go, there are certain Stanleys. They just open the Bible and they just start reading. They just start reading and just start explaining. And there are certain other professors like N.T. Wright who will take a particular section and they will identify the section within the chapter, and they will identify the chapter within the book, and they will identify the whole thing within the Old or the New Testament and within the whole Bible, and they will come up with certain strands that run throughout and that are seen in this particular passage also, that message which is an eternal message that you need to grasp and understand the Bible as a whole in a holistic manner, not just taking parts bit by bit from here and there. And then you get the full picture, the big picture of why God created, how God created, and how this thing went bad, and what God's plan is, and how God is going to come back and redeem, and what will happen in the end. But things going bad is not in the sense of this was not God's plan or God was surprised. God knew all throughout. This is how he intended it to be. Now at the end, Jesus would return. And when Jesus would return, everything would be the same as what happened in the garden. No, it would be much better than before. Like a greater glory is going to happen. So they would take the big picture, and then the big picture will be presented alongside or within that story. As every story unfolds, the big picture will still be there, and you can carry that message with you. And so different kinds of and different levels of preachings and teachings are happening. Now, when I look at this particular trend of taking a particular way, I see it is helpful to the church. And it is useful to the church. But when we take just a leper story to prove that God can heal, we actually don't do justice to the message of Mark. We do injustice to the message of Mark. So I intended to talk only about food today, but I have not even reached the food because I have to tell you the main point first. And now, when the healers talk about the healing story of the leper, they are talking only about the healing of his physical body, because that's what they intend to do. That's what they believe Jesus would do for others. Some of them will include a salvation message, and they will say the spirit also will be healed, and this person is saved, and he's now back into the community worshiping God, and he is now a saved person. He will be there in the life in the years to come, and you will be there in the life in the years to come, whether you get healed or not get healed. Some others will also include the psychological aspect and say that he was isolated and now he's welcomed, and look at the relief that Jesus has brought in, and such a salvific effect has come into his whole person, not just his body, his spirit, but also his soul is saved, and he is now a participant in this community where he's included, welcomed, and cherished, and not considered to be a burden and thrown out. So all these aspects are required. Holistically, we can say we can take all these things together, and then we can bring this man, and then we can say it's a physical healing, mental healing, emotional healing, every healing is happening, and Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and he will take us into that realm where all these problems are sorted out, and we will be with Jesus in the age to come, where this leper who was completely cleansed, we will also be completely cleansed. We will have incorruptible bodies like Jesus' body, but we'll never die. The leper may have died, but we will never die. That is the kind of body that God is promising us through this particular miracle story of Jesus, or the healing story of Jesus. Have we done justice to the whole thing? We feel so. But the only thing that we missed was how the Creator sees us. And that is the core message of the Bible, how Jesus sees us. So this splanchnizomai, if you missed, you may have preached about all kinds of healing that have taken place, but if you missed how Jesus felt about that leper's condition, how Jesus feels about the whole creation, you have not done justice to Mark's message. Mark is trying to say to a group of Gentiles, the kind of people that Paul was preaching to in that Tyrannus' Parashala, people who come from a different family and they have different customs, different cultures, they eat different kinds of food, and they want to know this Jewish Messiah who is dancing all over the Old Testament. They are reading the New Testament, the Old Testament, with the Messiah in their mind as a conclusion of the Old Testament, with this man Paul, who is a very educated scholar of the time. And for them, it's a new message and an exciting message. For us, it's something like we have already figured this out completely. And everywhere this message is there. It's not a new thing. But for them, it was a new thing, and they were excited about the Word of God. And now here we see this Mark is writing to such people. He's writing to such people who are confused about what food they can eat, what kind of clothes they can wear, whether they need to become like Jews, whether they have to become like Jewish people and eat particular kinds of foods only, whether they have to become like Jewish people and wear particular clothes and go to the church on particular days, observe all their festivals and do all their ritualistic things. What should we do? Are these Jewish customs our own now? Or are we supposed to leave them behind? What is the point? Now, Mark is talking about this cleansing from their perspective, or for them. He's not talking to himself. He's not talking about a message he has to throw to some 2000 years later Manoj Kumar Khator. No, he is talking to them. When I read this, I first need to understand that Mark is communicating this message from a particular perspective, from where he comes. He is a Jewish person. He's not a Gentile person, but he comes from a Jewish world, and he's talking in Greek to people who are Greek, who have different customs, different language, different expressions, different understandings, and completely different way of life, and different kinds of things that they enjoy. So Mark has to first adapt himself to them and then speak. Okay, so now he's talking about clean and unclean. You can see now I have come to the 7th chapter, and I'm talking about something that happened in the 1st chapter, and you would be wondering why I'm talking about something that happened in the 1st chapter where Jesus cleansed a leper. A leper was a Jewish leper. He was not even a Gentile. But look at how sharp and shrewd Mark is when he's talking about cleansing. You just take these two words, like cleansing is the word that is repeated there, but still everything is so interconnected. When he talks about cleansing, he is talking about a holistic cleansing. He's talking about the cleansing of the whole person. So when Jesus cleansed that whole person, the leper, he was cleansing death, he was cleansing disease, he was cleansing sin, he was cleansing hatred of other people who drove him out. He was cleansing and making the whole thing renewed or new creation. That's what is happening. And Jesus is busy doing that. And when God sees this whole world, this whole universe today, what does God feel? That's what is written there. Splanchnizomai, his belly is churning. He cannot even believe. Like imagine if you have a son or a daughter, and they are in the hospital, and they have an incurable disease with a lot of different kinds of manifestations that you can see. I knew of a friend in my class, and I never knew cancer before that. I never heard of cancer before that. I mean, I will hear about stories of cancer, people getting cancer, there's a lot of pain and they're doing this, this is happening. But I cannot forget this particular incident. He sat just beside me. I didn't know that he had cancer. I knew that he was sick, but I didn't know he had cancer. And he sat beside me, and we used to exchange notes and everything. Now, if I had cancer, I would never attend that class. I will be devastated already and angry and mad with people and God and with all the friends and everything, and never want to go anywhere. But here, this person who is sitting beside me, he's a Gujarati boy, and I'm a Marwadi boy, and we are sitting beside each other, next to each other, and he didn't even express even once that he needed any help or he had some disease. He was so happy and active and everything, and suddenly he started vomiting blood. He was vomiting blood, and I had to take him outside, so there was no sick room in that school at the time, and this is many years ago, okay? And so there was no sick room, and I took him outside, and I could not see that, the way he was vomiting blood, and he was washing his mouth with water, and I was standing next to him. I didn't know what to do. I was just trying to comfort him, console him, whatever I could do, I tried to do. I was also in a state of little bit of anxiety and panic, and for first time I'm seeing this. But my teachers believed that I will be better able to handle this boy at that time, because they wanted to continue with their lesson. They didn't stop the lesson. And I was outside with him, and I don't know, from my heart that day I prayed for him. Lord God, whoever it is, end this suffering. End this suffering is what I prayed. I didn't pray that he must be healed or anything. I didn't know. The suffering I could feel. I could experience that suffering. I mean, I don't know how to express it. And I didn't have any words to say. He was vomiting blood, and I felt there must be pain. I asked him, do you have pain? He said, no, pain is there. No pain is there. He didn't say anything about his condition. He didn't ask for sympathy. He didn't ask for pity. He didn't ask for any words that would comfort him. I just was standing with him, and he vomited the whole blood. And after a few months, he passed away. I went there to see his body, and I was like, God, what is this? I didn't expect this to happen. But his suffering ended, certainly. And now think with me about the child who is in the hospital, battling death, and you are standing there helpless. What would you feel? The same feeling God has towards his creation. That is how God sees the creation. That's how God sees. When we look at God, we say that, what have you created? What is this? What is that? But when Mark talks about splanchnistoma, he's saying that God feels so deeply pained from inside. He's merciful, he's kind. He wants to end this thing. He wants to heal you. And not end in the sense of death and decay, but to raise you from among the dead people. And that is what Jesus felt. And that explains throughout the letter of Mark, you can see when you reach the end, you will see that the suffering of Jesus for mankind. And if you have this leper in your mind, and you see people who are there, who are crucifying him, who are similar to that leper, and then you see a person, a centurion from a Gentile family sitting there, bowing his head, kneeling down and saying, surely this is the Son of God. Not that Caesar who authorized me to kill this man. Not that Caesar who is controlling the whole world, but this man who is still loving God, giving his spirit to his boss, who is still loving his people and forgiving their sin, so that they will not have any bad effect because of what they did to him, which is wrong, and he knows it. To have such love, you need to be a child of God, a son of God. that you are ready to not leave your God and also keep